All right. This is a very simple chart with a very simple market to trade. So I want to highlight what you should be looking at. And the first thing is understand that SPY is simply a range between 565 and the previous all-time high up there at 574. And while we are in a range, it is possible that we just continue to bounce off support and resistance and don't actually go anywhere. So identify the range, but more than likely we will break this range. This week we do have the CPI and the PPI. And if you've been paying attention to the bond market, those will be significant because the bond market is becoming uneasy, and we're also getting more fear readings from the VIX. So we will also look at the VIX tonight as well. But what you are looking at is, if you are a bear, is this is a lower high bounce and we're about to come down for the next lower low after a lower high rejection. With today's confirmation, all we need to do is break today's low as price continues to break through support in the bottom of the range at 564. If we break down below 564, you are looking for a gap fill at 560 and the bottom of the previous range at 556. So the bearish scenario is very simple. You are either staying short while we have this rejection, or you are going to continue to short tomorrow as we break down to lower lows. Doesn't matter how you want to trade. That's up to you and your trade plan. And if you are bullish, you can stay bullish above the previous higher low, which is right there at the bottom of the range at 565. And then you're expecting a bounce here off of the rising 20 daily moving average from a new higher low, and the confirmation of this will be the break of Friday's high as we break out of the top of the range and continue to a new all-time high at 581. So you have a very clear strategy. Whether you're a bear or a bull, we do still have a bull trend, but price is starting to look weak here as we look like we're starting to roll over. So we just need a little bit more confirmation before the bears continue to send this lower as the bulls exit and run for the door. And I will remind you, when that event does occur, if it does occur, the exit and everybody running for the door will give us the elevator down, which means we could go a lot lower than I just talked about if we do start to get that high volume selling and crash through all of the support below. So pay attention. If we start to get panic selling, you do not want to try to get in the way of that. Let it play out and do not be eager to buy the dip if we start to see the flush and we start to break support levels. On the NASDAQ 100 triple Qs, we have very similar analysis as SPY. We have a range here between 480 and 493. What the bears are looking for is this is a lower high rejection that's about to send us for the next lower low, which is going to send us to at least the bottom of the range at 473. And then more than likely we'll come all the way down into the 460s and test the previous breakout. So the bearish scenario is very simple. We just need to start breaking down below 480 and confirm that we will continue to make that lower low after the lower high rejection. So the bears will have a very simple chart with a very low risk short here because all they need to do is continue to short below the previous lower high rejection at 488. What the bulls will be looking for is another higher low after we bounce off of the rising 20 daily moving average and then try to continue higher towards the previous all-time high at 503. And the confirmation the bulls are in control will be the break above 488 after a higher low bounce. If the bulls do not get the higher low bounce, then we are getting the bear scenario. So be very quick to get risk off if we start to break down below support. And you can see this bull trend is starting to look like it's rolling over, which can happen very quickly if we get the rollover and die and start breaking support. And then as promised, I do want to take a quick moment to look at the VIX because it does look like we are getting this double bottom look in the VIX, and we are getting a very bullish look in the VIX with very impulsive price action. And there's two ways you can view the VIX. You can view it as fear is rising, or you can view it as the VIX is about to crush, which is going to favor the bullish scenario. So as I always tell you, it is way more important to follow price on the indices. And if we break that critical support, we will see the VIX spike. So you don't necessarily need to follow the VIX here. Just be aware of the risk. And the rising fear does increase the chance we get high volume panic selling if we do indeed break those critical support zones that I gave you. And then also, if you look at the monthly chart of the VIX, you could see a very well-rounded bottom here as the VIX in the month of October is starting to look very bullish. So if you just look at this chart in a vacuum, you can see fear has been rising as we're making higher lows, and now we are continuing to push out higher. And this fear could lead to high volume panic selling, even though it does not have to. So be very aware of those critical support zones that I gave you in the indices. And if those break down, which means price is going below them, you will start to get that panic selling and we will move down very quickly. And then the last thing I want you to look at is Bitcoin getting rejected at the 200 daily moving average after a false breakout above the 200 daily moving average. We are now coming back up to test it as resistance, and the sellers are there. So this is increasing the probability that Bitcoin is also going to participate in a leg lower after a lower high rejection below the 200 daily moving average. So we're getting lots of confirmation that this is definitely starting to look like a risk-off market, teetering and playing with the idea of rolling over and dying, which is going to depend on the bulls failing to hold those critical support zones. So Bitcoin is also looking risk off while it's below 65,000, so keep that in mind. So jumping back over to the S&P 500, as you can tell from the rising VIX and Bitcoin currently failing and rejecting at the 200 daily moving average, there is a very viable bearish scenario that we're going to get rejected from a lower high and continue to break down below support and start to see some panic selling. So respect it. It may not happen, but at least be prepared for it. And if you're prepared for it, you will be much better off even if it does not happen. It is always better to plan for the worst and hope for the best than to be caught with your pants down in a market that is getting high volume panic selling. So if you want to come trade with me and get access to all of my intraday updates, my technical analysis, and my trade ideas, that is in my Discord server, which you can find out how to join the Stock Channel Discord by clicking on the link in the description of this video. So thank you for watching, everybody. I hope you're crushing this market. And as always, I will see you in the next episode.